Warriors, my friends, my extended family, welcome to another important video. I am so excited for this video here. Before I get into it, let me remind you that the Health Anxiety Program is now available, and you can learn more about this transformative program right here. My friends, as I go deep into this video, we may from time to time hear the birds screaming in the background, and every single time they do, let's take a moment of peace to close our eyes just for a few seconds and just let go, because today's a bit of a tricky day to film this video. There's a lot of noise going on in the background, so I hope you don't mind, okay? Let's get into this. Now, there is a vital element that contributes to people that have healed their anxiety disorders over time. That vital element is something that we, over time, start to notice more and more often within the anxiety healing journey. And this element that we're going to talk about today contributes to you going from one side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge. I'm talking about one side of the bridge which contains irrational fear, the ego world, and conditioning from the inner child, all the way over to the other side of the bridge, which is connected to unconditional love, being content and at peace with exactly who you are at all times. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Now, what is this element? The element is this: courage. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of courage you see in movies. I'm not talking about the kind of courage that you reel up through motivation and then move into a situation where you're so very anxious and bulldoze your way through the situation. No, I'm not talking about that kind of courage. I'm talking about two different types of courage: moving away from things and moving towards things. Let's get into the moving away from things. Number one, the courage to move away from the programs and beliefs that are conditioned into you from childhood. How important is this? It's so important, because aren't we all capable of creating a new identity? Aren't we all capable of moving ourselves out of the label connected to an anxiety disorder? Aren't we all capable of simplifying our lives and coming to a place of true, genuine inner peace with ourselves and the world? Yes, we are all capable of this, and more often than not, we have the skill sets, we have the mindset, but we're lacking the courage to move away from some of these things. Now, let's get into this a little bit. Programs and beliefs conditioned into you from childhood. Why is it that we have such a difficult time moving away from these things? Well, if you ask yourself at a deep level, it's possible that this fear of moving away from the programs and beliefs of your childhood conditioning has something to do with the attachment that you have to your own parents. Maybe it has something to do with losing the memory of being a child. Maybe you feel like you're going to lose out on something or lose something if in fact you do move towards a place that is unfamiliar and uncertain, away from anxiety. I want you to check in with yourself right here and right now and ask yourself, why am I lacking the courage at this point in my life to move away from the programs, the conditioning, and the belief systems from my childhood? What else? Moving away, this is important, moving away from the safety of fear and worry. Oh my goodness, you're speaking to the old Dennis right now, Dennis. Oh my goodness. Do you feel safe in your fear to some extent? It's worth asking. Do you feel safe when you worry about things? Do you feel safe when you tell your children a million different things before they go on that field trip, for example? We have connected fear and worry to being our safety net. And more often than not, when it comes to anxiety, to move away or to have the courage to move away from fear and worry makes us feel too vulnerable, right? If I don't worry about my symptoms, the worst is going to happen. Who told you that? Is that something that you created over time because of the addiction to suffering that you are unconsciously under? It's very, very possible. Now, remember, today we're being brutally honest with ourselves with the right and deep questions. So ask yourself, why am I lacking the courage to move away from the safety net that's connected to fear and worry? And finally, what else? What else are we afraid to move away from? Competing. Competing has a lot to do with the buildup of stress, anxiety, and I truly believe at the deepest levels, chronic fatigue, right? This never-ending feeling of competing with everything, everyone, every situation, every show, every influencer on social media, right? Every coworker, it doesn't end. Every mother, every father, every child, every this, right? We have to get to a point, my friends. I'm looking you right in the eye right now. You have to get to the point where you give up the power struggle between you and other people. No matter what environment you are in, it doesn't matter if it's in the workplace anymore because the more competing you do in the workplace, the more it's eating away at your life force and your life in totality, right? We have to understand this. Is it worth it? Is it worth all this competing to lose 20, 30, 40 years of your life and go through your lifetime with such struggle, with such fight all the time? Or would you rather be content? My friends, I believe the fear of moving away from competing has a lot to do with looking to preserve our egos, looking to preserve our reputations. But the truth is, true anxiety is healed when once and for all you no longer have a reputation. You are a no one just like me. I am a no one. You are a nobody. I can't even recognize with the name Dennis anymore, right? Because Dennis to me has a lot to do with those very difficult years that I went through. And the truth is, I am in the afterlife already. The life after an anxiety disorder, the life after the addiction to suffering, the life after the safety net of fear and worry and competing. That's the real afterlife for me. And this is where you're going as well, my friends. So, what about the courage to move towards? Okay, so we're talking about the courage to move away from these things, but also we have to talk about the courage to move towards things. What are we moving towards, and why are we afraid to move towards them? The courage to move towards activities and even relationships that the old you would perceive as being boring, but in fact settle your mind and body. If your mind is unsettled, your body will be unsettled. And here's what's going to happen in your life. You're going to have to give up quite a lot of things. You're going to have to sacrifice quite a lot of people, a lot of relationships, maybe your career, right? Because it's necessary to rebuilding yourself. It's necessary to tap into your higher self this way, because you can't keep hold of those things from the past and become somebody new. You have to decide. right? So what's going to happen here is you're going to start doing things like going for more walks, right? Especially in nature. And as you do, there's a part of you called the ego connected to the inner child that's going to go, this is boring. Go home, eat junk food. That's exciting. Play video games, watch the movies, watch the reality show, hang out with energy vampires, do these things because they're stimulating. Isn't your favorite sports team playing tonight? No. You say no to the ego. You say no to the inner child programming. You say, I'm on this walk, and no longer do I accept the perceptions coming from my inner child and my ego, but rather I'm accepting the perceptions coming from my higher self. To my ego, this walk is boring. To my higher self, this walk is pleasant and full of progress. That's a more than anxiety moment. So you will be partaking in activities and relationships that feel neutral. To the ego, may feel boring. It may feel like the knob has been turned down a little bit in terms of the volume in your life. Guess what? These are all great things. In fact, to give you another example, I'm spending so much time by myself, and I love it because I love the relationship with myself, the new me now. Do you know how much insight and wisdom you can gain simply by spending time by yourself, but perceiving it in a different way? It's not loneliness, is it? Right? It's something else. Moving towards the courage to move towards the I, which is created by you and God alone. Yes, I'm going to talk about God. Because it's important that you understand that you are in the process of creation. You know, it's kind of like having a job, right? For 30 years, you have this job, your old identity, right? And the job is so comfortable. It's a comfortable paycheck that you get every 2 weeks or every month. It's reliable, right? There's nothing really bad happening in your life, nothing really good happening in your life, but you're kind of just floating through life, right? It's kind of like the old you is kind of like that job, whereas the new you, right, to create the I coming from you is created by your higher self and by source energy, something that we don't really truly understand. I mean, you can ask 100 people, you know, who is God? And you'll get 100 different answers, right? And they'll all make sure that, you know, the answer that they say is correct, right? More often than not. And I like to keep a flexible mind, right? So whatever the creator is to you, it's so much easier to heal an anxiety disorder knowing that you're supported from a deity, something divine that you truly don't understand yet, right? You're just getting to understand it. So we have to find the courage that comes from creating the I, right? That feels unfamiliar, the I that you're getting to know from a day-to-day basis. Can I give you an example? Back in the day, when I would go to a restaurant or a cafe by myself, I felt like, oh my God, what a loner, what a loser, right? Look at me, right? I don't have any friends. I don't have a girlfriend or whatever it is, right? To give you an example, I went to the cafe, a very crowded cafe yesterday. I had my book, I opened the book, I read the book, while everybody else around me was chit-chatting with each other. I was reading my book. And at that moment, I no longer felt vulnerable. I no longer was filled with judgment towards myself. No, I was doing what was in line with the new I, right? This is what I'm talking about. It's about getting to this place where you are so comfortable being you, thinking you, speaking you, acting you, imagining you in terms of the new I, right? And finally, the courage to move towards perspectives that leave you feeling vulnerable, but contribute to the act of giving up the control and certainty you thought you needed. There's going to come a point in your life where you look at all the control that you look to assert over yourself and other people in all situations and go, my goodness, what a waste of time and energy. And then you're going to go, well, what's the opposite of this, right? Well, the opposite of all this is me having the courage to allow new perspectives to lead me instead, right? Perspectives that make me feel sort of vulnerable, right? And I always say that vulnerability really is the starting point to freedom. It is the key to freedom, my friends. So we must understand that this element that is courage is the courage to move away from certain things and to move towards certain things. Because often there's a lot of people out there going through anxiety that do an amazing job of moving away certain things, but the universe doesn't like a void. There's a gray area there, and they just need to adopt the courage to move towards the things that feel so unfamiliar and uncertain. Does that sound like you? Warriors, go ahead. If this video spoke to you, give it a like. And if you get a chance, comment below, because I'd love to hear from you. What's the biggest clarity? What's the biggest insight you gained from this video? Comment below, join this beautiful community, and if you get a chance, please share this video, share this channel with someone or a group out there in need. Remember that you are more than anxiety. Don't ever forget it. I love you.